What if I told you that the home you live in, the roof over your head, or the investment property you're chasing isn't really yours? Not in the way you think, not in the way you've been led to believe. And what if the system that decides whether you deserve that property, that mortgage, that so-called dream house, isn't just about numbers or credit scores or income statements, but about something much deeper? About the way you've been conditioned to see yourself, your worth, and even your future? Because underwriting, that cold, mechanical process that supposedly measures your risk, isn't just financial. It's philosophical, psychological, almost spiritual. And once you understand it, it will haunt you. Because you'll realize underwriting isn't just about property, it's about you. Think about it. When you apply for a mortgage, you hand over your financial history. The underwriter combs through it like a detective. Your debts, your income, your past mistakes, your present habits. And then, based on formulas and policies you'll never fully see, they decide whether you're worthy. Worthy of a home. Worthy of ownership. Worthy of belonging. Do you feel that? That sting of judgment? Because deep down we all do. We are not just trying to buy property, we are trying to buy legitimacy. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Underwriting is not about the property at all. It's about control. A house, an apartment, an office building, they're just physical shells. Bricks and wood, concrete and glass. But underwriting turns them into symbols. Symbols of stability, reliability, and trust. Plato once wrote about the cave where prisoners mistake shadows for reality. In the same way, underwriting creates shadows of worthiness. A number, a ratio, a debt-to-income calculation becomes the shadow of your identity. The banker doesn't see you. They see the shadow. And sometimes we begin to see the shadow too. Imagine this. You've worked for years, saved carefully, dreamed endlessly. You find the perfect home, the one that feels like it was built for you. And then, one underwriter with one keystroke says, denied. In that moment, you don't just lose a property. You lose a version of yourself. You lose the imagined future where you belonged in that neighborhood, where your kids played in that backyard, where you felt finally secure. It's devastating, not just financially, emotionally, existentially, because underwriting reveals something most people don't want to admit. That wealth, opportunity, and security in our world are not evenly distributed. They are filtered, they are gated, and underwriting is the gatekeeper. But here's the real twist. You've been underwriting yourself all along. Every time you thought, I'm not good enough to apply for that loan yet. Every time you said, I'll wait until I make more money before I deserve that house. Every time you compared your credit score, your income, your worth. You became the underwriter. Machiavelli said it bluntly. Power isn't just about force, it's about convincing others to police themselves, to become their own rulers. And in real estate, underwriting has done exactly that. Now, let's step back. Why does underwriting exist at all? On paper, it's simple. It's about risk. Banks don't want to lend money to people who won't pay it back. Fair enough. But when you peel it back, you realize underwriting is less about protecting banks and more about protecting the illusion of order. Because money is fragile. Property markets are fragile. The entire economy is a house of cards propped up by confidence. Underwriting, in this sense, is like a priesthood. Its rituals reassure the congregation that everything is under control. Debt-to-income ratios are like sacred texts. Credit scores are like confessions. And the underwriter? The quiet, unseen priest who decides whether you are pure enough to enter the temple of ownership. This isn't just finance. It's theology. But here's what they don't tell you. The system doesn't just measure you. It shapes you. Nietzsche once warned of the herd instinct, that subtle pressure to conform, to live by values imposed on us rather than the values we create. Underwriting enforces the herd instinct financially. Want that loan? Keep your debt low. Want approval? Stay in your job. Don't take risks. Don't deviate. Want security? Conform. And so millions of us alter our lives. Not because it's what we want, but because it's what the system will approve. We postpone dreams. We silence desires. We bend ourselves into predictable shapes. Not because we're free, but because we're afraid of rejection. And here's the brutal irony. The people underwriting properties are not immune to the same trap. They too are underwritten. By their employers. By their own credit scores. by their fears of losing what they've gained. It's underwriting all the way down, a hierarchy of judgment, each person measuring the next and being measured in turn. Which begs the question, who is underwriting the underwriter? But let's go deeper still. The true danger of underwriting is not that it denies us homes. It's that it teaches us to equate value with validation. We begin to believe, if the system approves me, then I matter. If it denies me, then I don't. This is the great lie. Because underwriting doesn't measure your courage. It doesn't measure your love, your creativity, your resilience. It doesn't measure the nights you stayed awake working 2 jobs or the sacrifices you made for your family. It measures shadows, numbers, probabilities, and yet, we hand over our sense of self to it willingly. We confuse approval with worthiness. We confuse ownership with freedom. We confuse property with security. But what if the opposite were true? What if the constant striving to be underwritten is the very thing keeping us trapped? Plato's prisoners stayed chained in the cave because they mistook shadows for reality. Maybe we too stay chained because we mistake underwriting for truth. Maybe true ownership doesn't come from a deed or a loan approval. Maybe it comes from reclaiming your agency, the ability to define what stability means to you, not to a bank. Maybe the house isn't the dream. Maybe the dream is freedom. Here's a story. In the 2008 financial crisis, millions lost their homes. Not because they were irresponsible, but because the entire underwriting system was built on illusions. Approvals given too freely, risks ignored, shadows mistaken for substance. Families were evicted. Dreams were shattered. And yet, some people began to see clearly. They realized that security had never truly been in the walls of their homes or in the signatures on their loans. It had always been in their communities, their adaptability, their ability to start again. And many did. They rebuilt, not by conforming harder, but by questioning the very system that judged them. So now I'll ask you, when you think about your future, about the properties you dream of owning, about the underwriting process that stands in your way, are you chasing shadows? Or are you brave enough to step out of the cave, to see that underwriting isn't what you think, that it's not just about property, that it's about psychology, it's about control, it's about how deeply you've allowed someone else to define your worth, and the most dangerous underwriter of all might be the one living inside your own head. So maybe the real question isn't, will I be approved? Maybe it's, who gets to underwrite my life? And if the answer isn't you, then maybe it's time to rewrite the rules. And if the answer isn't you, then maybe it's time to rewrite the rules. And if the answer isn't you, then maybe it's time to rewrite the rules. And if the answer isn't you, then maybe it's time to rewrite the rules. And if the answer isn't you, then maybe it's time to rewrite the rules. And if the answer isn't you, then maybe it's time to rewrite the rules. And if the answer isn't you, then maybe it's time to rewrite the rules. And if the answer isn't you, then maybe it's time to rewrite the rules.